favorite color of some of the principal church decorators in the country. That's why they got ran out of the country. The ceiling has been smoothed into broad panels by the Campo board. And I don't know what Campo board is, and tinted in delicate green with gold borders. The divisions between the wainscoting, meaning the lower part of the wall which had woodwork on it, and the walls are marked by dotted bands of old rose. And the overhead sides above the gallery and under the cornices with a deep border of intricate cross design. Arches are centered with medallions in which the symbols of the name of our Lord are wrought in gold. The chancel has its memorial window blended in one group by diaper work, and on each side are Easter lilies in faces, the article says, and I have said maybe they mean fasces, which is the gathering of rods, the classical symbol, which I think shows up in a photograph of that period. The general effect of the scheme is quiet and restful. An exquisite taste. A new deep green carpet has been put down in the aisles and on the chancel floor. Chaste and exquisite brass communion rail, the gift of Mrs. George W. Heflin. The organ has been put in thorough repair, and lights of increased candle power replace some of the former brackets. Outside of the church will be painted in a few weeks, and then the congregation will have a place of worship worth their liberality. Showing off their money, and an attraction to the entire community. So that's absolutely a marvelous piece of added information on the church of recent date. At this point, I think I will stop and ask for questions.
John,
Yes, ma'am.
remember before they painted up over the pulpit and the lectern, way up high in the ceiling, it had the words, "Take heed how ye hear."
That's right. That's right. I think we should ask the bishop to say that we really need to put back that great, huge thing that said, "Take heed how ye hear."
Yeah, it was huge, all the way across that area.
Yeah.
There's a picture of that.
It is.
I don't know if I can find it
Yeah.
since I moved, but it exists.
Other thoughts, questions?
Yes, the little silver cross in the floor as you
Yes.
enter,
Yes.
what's it for?
I think it's just from the consecration of the church.
Yes, and it's pewter.
Yeah, pewter.
It's made by felt.
Okay.
Oh, was it made by John Filler? Marion, we need a lot of your information. That is for sure.
Expensive.
Spoken like a good Episcopalian. Well,
John, could I
yes,
mention
sir.
something?
Please
I
do.
find your talk fascinating because I'm going to mention a few of these type of things in the sermon.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things about the church, someone said, is the church is what you have when the building burns down.
Ah, lovely.
And your statement about the church as a procession of people
Yeah.
really underscores that. And when you said open up the architecture as a way to open up the church,
Yes,
sometimes our building is a statement of our theology.
yes.
And I was just in the Sudan about 3 months ago, and the bishop there, Daniel Ding, has a list of about 12 or 13 things that he wanted to do. And I said, well, Daniel, prioritize your top 2 or 3. And the first priority was the agricultural project to get them a farm and a tractor so that they could be more self-sufficient. The second priority, over and above the education, the back salaries for the clergy and everything else, was a new church building. They worship in a tukul, an expanded building of local material. And he wanted a permanent building of permanent material for $62,000. So when you think cathedral, don't think Washington, think a rather modest building. And I said, Daniel, why is that over and above all your other projects? He said, you see this town? There's 3 permanent buildings. There's the government building, there is the mosque, and the Catholic Church. We want these people to know that we are here to stay. So he's making a theological statement about the stability and the staying power of the congregation. He's building right into his building a theological statement. So I think it's very much in keeping with what you're talking
Well,
about.
that's interesting.
Opening the church and giving it a more open feel because you're an outreach community.
Yeah.
It says that where prayer is, there is our theology.
That's marvelous, sir.
So it's a great talk to give.
The last week, in the first of these two, we looked at the diagram of the parish of St. George's, which in the 18th century had 8 churches and chapels at various times, and then it got cut off into other parishes, and it was very much a collective represented here and there with these places. Tripp has just gone and found and brought in for us to see. This is the 1906 photograph of the church in Nile Green.
John,
In beautiful black and white.
you have to excuse us. Bishop Gray is going to go speak with the confirmands, right?
Oh, terrific. Bishop, thank you so much for being here, sir. Johnny, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
and for bringing the bishop.
You're welcome. Excuse us.
John, could I make a remark about the rear dogs?
Excuse me, yes, Marion would like to make a remark about the railroads.
When it was reassembled, when we put it back up,
Yes.
it was obviously damaged by smoke on the back side. And it also had been painted white or very near white on the side we see.
Yes.
But we thought, well, that's probably not true, although we had a picture of it, and everyone said, well, it was the lighting that made it look white. It wasn't,
Yeah.
because you could see where it was painted.
Uh-huh.
But they did a wonderful job of getting it off.
Yes, and getting back to wood. Smoke where it had been in a farm.
Pardon?
Smoke, fire damage.
Not actually fire damage, but smoke that came up from the room below, where the fire started.
Okay, so, but what that means is that would give us a firm piece of evidence for an early date.
Yes, we think it was there in
49.
1954, whenever the
54.
fire occurred.
That's fascinating. All right, folks, we'll hope to do some more history things further on. As you all have requested, please think of the suggestions and questions and so on. Yes, ma'am?
John, there is a pamphlet in the Northwest entitled Brief History of St. George, which I have found very helpful. And I just wondered if the rest of the class knew it was helpful.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That pamphlet is helpful. There is also a pamphlet with the listing of the graveyard names, as I recall, in the narthex. There's more we need to do, including getting more on our website, by the way, of our history, but that's great. Yes, thank you.
When did they paint that, the cream color that it is now, and why did they just do one color? Running or?
Don't recall when was it painted, re-exterior. I remember it being repainted, I just don't remember the date.
The exterior.
Yes.
No, the interior painted over on.
Oh, the interior.
Yeah.
Oh, in the 1950s. The aging interior didn't appeal, and it seemed dark. And somewhere there's a comment that they brought in an advisor from Williamsburg who suggested the appropriate colonial colors, to which my amendment is for the 1849 building. But the colonial period goes on for a long time in our part. So in the 1950s they did that, and I think it was just a matter of taste.
Here's one of the places.
Wanted it plain, clear, light, yeah.
John,
Yes.
in referencing paint, the exterior of the church, why is it painted instead of just being left the normal brick?
It has been painted for a very long time, and
High damage?
no, it could be post-fire, but I think, post-1850s fire, but I think it was intended to be painted. A lot of those Baltimore churches of late were intended to be painted originally, both to help preserve them and also, in some cases, to make them look a little bit more handsome and monolithic.
I've also heard that this brick is a poor quality. It's called the slave's revenge. And flakes off these.
Thank you all. See you the next time. And wait, I have to get back the markers that must go back to whoever here.
John, is this class meeting next week?
No, we were told that we couldn't meet next week for, what's the reason? Someone-
People from Rosebud.
The Rosebud people. So we're not meeting next week.
How you doing?